Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mark. This is MacGyver's Garage. And today we're going to be doing something to the Supra that I think is probably going to be pretty cool. So I know one of the big complaints a lot of people have is with the steering wheel on the Supra and just how thin it is, and just the shape. I know a lot of people go with the flat bottom ones, and some of those are really cool, especially some of the carbon ones. But there's a lot of them out there that I really don't like the look of and the way they kind of come together. So when a company called Mewant reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to try out one of their products, when I started looking into it, I was like, yeah, this could be pretty cool, and this could be something that others out there may want to do. And if you haven't seen this before, well, I'm going to show you what it is today. So let's open up the package and see what's inside of this box. All right, so this is the box that it comes in. It comes, straight through the mail, just like this. You can see, obviously, this came from China. It says so right on the back. And so, it got smushed a little bit. It was just in a pretty much a folder type envelope, and it came in. But really, what's in there is not really breakable, so no big deal with that. Open it up, and you've got a few different things. So first, you've got a little baggie here, and inside of this baggie, you've got two things of thread, a pretty good sized needle right there with that. This almost looks like one of the a puller tool, but this is actually used to push rather than pull. It's got a little, I think, like a thimble type deal, and then some adhesive tape. And so that is there and ready to go. It has a small instruction manual that actually walks through the steps of how to do it, different stitching techniques that you can use, and so that's there. And they also have a video online how to do it. But then here's actually what we've got and what we'll be working with. So this is the cover that I went with. And so this is a steering wheel cover. And so it goes on there. They've actually got little indications on the inside here, an F and a B. So you know that this goes on the front, that goes on the back. And so what I went with is a perforated leather, alcantara, a red leather stripe for the center stripe, blue stitching, and I've got the blue stitching to then lash it all together. So what you'll end up doing is putting this on there, getting it centered, using some of the adhesive tape to keep it in place, and then you work your way around actually threading it. And it's pretty cool because you use the threading that's already there. It comes together, and then you can do different designs depending on what your style is, what your taste is. There are lots of different videos online of people using different threading techniques. So let's throw this in the car and just see how it fits, how we're gonna line it up, and talk about what we're doing. Okay, so we're here in the car, and I've got the stock steering wheel. Now, I do have the A91 edition, so as you can see, the stitching on mine is the blue stitching, which I do like. And, it's not a horrible fit for my hand, but it is a little bit thin. I got into John's M3, and I was really impressed with how thick his was. So this should add a little bit of thickness to this. Also, it changes these sides from being leather to being alcantara. It goes with perforated leather. It gives me a center stripe, and that center stripe is red, and so it's a little bit different than everything else. Now I'll be able to keep all of this carbon here, and so while it's not a direct replacement and it doesn't go with the flat bottom like some people have done, this should give me a little bit of additional just that change that I'm looking for. So let's slide this on here and see how it works out. Okay, so we're gonna start just at the top, just kind of getting that center stripe where it needs to be. I'm gonna work this on. Now you can do this either on or off of the car. So you could take the steering wheel off just to give yourself more room to be able to do this. But we're gonna do it right here in the car, just so you can kind of see how it will all work out. Okay, so that's about centered. And so everything kind of lines up where it should. Slide some of this around so that it gets centered, so that when you do the seam is actually in the center, and that's what you're looking for. Really, like down here on the bottom, I definitely need to pull that through. Okay, so you'd see the seam. You can see the seam on the original steering wheel, and so you'd want to lay this over so that it centers up right over that seam. And so when you sew everything up, when you stitch it, it ends up exactly where it currently is, and so everything fits and just works perfectly. So this is where I think I'm going to start and kind of go up. So let's get into it. Like on the corners, they go every single stitch, and then as you get further up, they go every other stitch. And so that's what we're going to kind of do, is every single stitch until about here, and then every other stitch, and then we'll go every single stitch just at the ends. I know that they haven't done that quite everywhere, but I've seen where they have, and I kind of like the way that that looks. So that's what we're going to try and do. Okay, so to make sure everything is lined up, I'm using kind of a straight edge. So you can see that that's a pretty straight edge right there. And so I'm using this emblem right in the middle and going right center to center and going up. And you can see that I'm right in the middle. If I actually wrap that around, I'm right in the middle of the red. So that is centered right where I'll want it. And so now it's a matter of actually starting to go around and tuck in some of this excess. So let me make sure that it is centered where it needs to be, and then start tucking in some of this where it needs to go in. So I actually, I've seen online where people have sewn it up first. So I think I may do that and then go back and do the tucking. So that's where we're going to start. Let's start with sewing it up. Okay, so I did about 5 times the length of the section I'm going to be sewing up. Okay, so I've got my string here, and in the very end of it, I'm going to put like a double or a triple knot, just kind of something big enough that it's going to catch at the end, because we're going to go in through the back to get it started. And so where we're going to start is I'm actually going to go to this back side and go right through the hole that they started. Okay, so this is just going to be the process we use. Going through each one for the first few. So we do probably about 5 this way. That knot is kind of a pain in the ass right there. Kind of wish I had done this one a little bit differently. I'm not sure how they actually started theirs, but it's okay. It'll work for now. Okay, I'm about halfway done. You can see the top is still open, but the bottom sides are done, and the stitching isn't horrible. I mean, it's not perfect. It's not stock stitching. Now, the one thing I will say is that I had the Rex Speed carbon fiber pieces on here, and while I was able to get it around these up here, on the bottom one, it just made it too tight. And unfortunately, when I was trying to pull it off, even though I was using the tool, because of the glue that was on there, I cracked it. And so I'm gonna have to replace this bottom piece, which kind of sucks. And you can see right here, I've got a little piece that tore on the leather as I was trying to stuff it in. And so I've got to figure out how to get that shoved in there without ripping it completely. So I'm skipping every other one, pulling a long line through. So I went single stitching down here. Now I'm doing double stitching. And after I get about to where the leather starts, I'll go back through, tighten this up. And I did it again. So you gotta be careful that you're not being stupid like I am, and that you keep going outside of the steering wheel. Otherwise you're gonna come back through and undo a couple of stitches. That's not a big deal. But see, it's over here. So come back through here, do it over again. Now when I tighten it, it may catch my, there we go. Perfect. So now you can see it's working. So from here, what you want to do is make sure that you don't just go back in. You actually come through here, then go back in. Otherwise, you end up doing the wrong thing and going around your steering wheel. So you can see it's starting to come together. I'll have to tuck all this once I get it done. I've got down here tucked well. I've got around here tucked. So we'll just clean it up and get all of the wrinkles out and get it as nice as possible. So that should be there. Now I think the key is just going to be getting this all tucked correctly. And get it to take up some of the extra slack that's there. This is definitely the hardest part, is getting this stuff tucked under here. This stuff is not easy. All right, so it's pretty much done. Like I said, I've got that crack right there. I went ahead and put it back on. You know, it's not perfect. See, there's a little bit of a wrinkle right here. I do have to probably pull this back off and put some tape right here because it doesn't tuck down in behind here. But it does tuck in so that it stays pretty flat and pretty good. So right in here, definitely need to make sure that I get a little bit of tape on there, get that sealed in. But overall, I mean, you know, quality, mainly due to me, is okay. It's not perfect, not great, but it's doable, and I definitely like the feel of that. I like the feel of the alcantara there. You know, it gives it just a little bit more girth, and having the center stripe is nice, something that I wanted to have. So we'll see how it breaks in, how it all feels. You know, pretty straightforward. I wouldn't say easy, and I wouldn't say hard. You know, tucking it's definitely the hardest part, but you know, I got it. So there you guys go. That was the install of the Mewant steering wheel cover. And so I'll leave a link down below where you guys can go check it out, get one for yourself. You know, did it go perfect? No, but you know, it was my first time doing this. I think if I was to do it again, I think every progressive time it would get a little bit better. Probably 2 or 3 of them, and I'd be knocking these things out and they'd look amazing with no flaws whatsoever. The way it currently is, I've got no issues with it. I mean, take a look. You know, looking from the outside of the car in, you can see the blue stitching. You can see that red stripe right up top, that center stripe. You've got the alcantara, you've got the perforated leather, and it's a whole lot nicer to touch. I mean, having alcantara here, having the perforated leather, just really does make it a lot nicer to grab. And the finish is pretty good. You know, I thought that this was going to be tucked in the back. I put a little bit of tape there, and it really does away with any problems. I've got a little bit of a wrinkle here and a little bit of a wrinkle there, but overall I'm really impressed with it. And you know, I'm excited to drive it with that, because just the steering wheel feel is going to be so much better. If you guys enjoyed this, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, any comments, leave them down below. And as always, hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell icon. You'll get notifications when we upload videos. Let me know what you guys want to see. Let me know if you liked this, if this was something you would do, or if you would just spend, you know, this is a whole lot cheaper than going the full steering wheel route. So it's an option for those of you out here who want something different but don't want to go with the full steering wheel replacement. And I didn't have to take it off. So would have been easier if I'd taken it off. Probably would have come out better on the first try had I taken it off, but I didn't. All right, guys, thanks for checking it out. Appreciate it. I'll see you guys next time.